Imagine this. You're sitting in a helicopter. The side doors are wide open, and there's this freezing, deafening wind just howling in your ears. You look straight down at the earth, and you are at an absolutely impossible height. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're skipping the small talk and jumping straight into the ultimate survival mindset. We're going to break down how one man survived the literal impossible, and more importantly, how you can apply those exact same lessons to your own life. 16,000 feet. That is a long way down. That's the terrifying altitude a 22-year-old Bear Grylls jumped from during an SAS Special Forces training exercise back in 1996. The stakes of a jump like this are literally life and death. And, for the first few seconds, everything was going exactly according to plan. Then, the unthinkable happens. The parachute fails. The ropes get completely tangled up, the fabric only half opens, and he goes into this horrifying, uncontrolled freefall. The ground just rushes up to meet him, and he crashes so violently that he breaks his spine in 3 separate places. Lying there in the dirt, his fellow soldiers rush over. He's alive, sure, but he can't move. Later at the hospital, doctors take one look at his shattered body and deliver a crushing verdict. It's a miracle he even survived, but he might never walk properly again. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the fall and the comeback, defying the impossible. Lying in that hospital bed, paralyzed by agonizing pain for months on end, Bear made a radical decision. He decided that if he was spared, if he made it out of this, he was going to do something massive. And get this, it took just 18 months for him to go from facing permanent paralysis to standing at the absolute summit of the world's most dangerous mountain, Mount Everest. The pacing of his life here is just staggering. Born in 1974 with his childhood love for climbing trees and rock climbing, his life basically hits a brick wall in 1996 with that SAS parachute fall. But then, fast forward to 1998, and at just 22 years old, he becomes the youngest British mountaineer to conquer Everest. He went from a broken soldier to a history-making mountaineer in the blink of an eye. It really all comes down to a choice, doesn't it? The weak mindset means giving up when the experts, the doctors, tell you that you can't walk. The strong mindset? That's deciding to achieve something absolutely massive simply because you survived. His physical recovery wasn't just some medical miracle. It was fueled entirely by a resolute mental decision. Section 2, surviving the extreme wild. No room for disgust. So Bear Grylls takes this unbreakable mindset straight into the world's most unforgiving environments. Through his famous television show Man vs. Wild, he ventured into the Sahara Desert, the Amazon jungle, the freezing Himalayas, proving that out there, survival has its own brutal rules. I mean, just think about what he consumed to survive. Live snakes, larvae pulled straight out of tree bark, raw meat, and in one incredibly shocking moment in the Sahara Desert, when he was completely out of water for miles, he found a dead camel, cut it open, and literally drank the fluid straight from its stomach. In a life-or-death scenario, survival does not hand you a menu. And that brings us to this incredible quote. In survival, there is no place for disgust. If you want to save your life, you have to make friends with disgust. Think about that. It's a radical acceptance of extreme reality. This is exactly what separates survivors from victims. You just don't get to be picky when your life is on the line. Now, let's completely change the scenery here. Minus 30 degrees Celsius. Bear was once facing a deadly night out in the Arctic. The temperature plummeted to a completely lethal minus 30 degrees, and this freezing wind was just cutting his face. He had absolutely no shelter, no tent, and no safe place anywhere in sight. So, what do? Let's walk through the bizarre but totally brilliant step-by-step procedure he used to stay alive. Step 1. He dug a deep hole straight into the freezing snow and ice. Step 2, he got inside that freezing hole. And step 3, he covered his own body with snow so that the deadly winds couldn't reach him. He literally buried himself in the snow to survive the night. The next morning, when the sun finally came up, a hand just burst out of that snow pit, Bear emerged, brushed himself off, and said this: "Sometimes to survive, you don't fight nature. You have to understand it." And this brilliantly illustrates the core of his philosophy. You don't try to battle an unyielding environment, you adapt to it. You actually use the snow to protect you from the wind. Section 3, Leaders in the Wilderness. Power meets nature. You see, this profound raw survival philosophy didn't just captivate everyday viewers. It attracted the attention of some of the most recognizable figures on the planet. US President Barack Obama heading up to Alaska. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Uttarakhand. Huge movie stars like Rajinikanth, Julia Roberts, and Akshay Kumar. It really highlights the incredible cultural impact of his teachings. These incredibly diverse, high-profile figures willingly stepped away from their very comfortable lives to step into danger with him. For instance, picture this scenario with President Obama in the rugged Alaskan wilderness. You literally have the President of the United States out in the wild, eating wild salmon cooked right there over a campfire, drinking tea made from glacier water and a forest plant called catkin, all while having this completely grounded, candid conversation about the everyday responsibilities of being a father. Or take Prime Minister Modi in Uttarakhand. He was navigating the wild, unpredictable terrain of Jim Corbett National Park, crossing dense jungle rivers on a makeshift bamboo boat. They even shared a pretty lighthearted moment out there, joking about how fast you'd actually have to run to outrun a tiger. The overarching takeaway from these specific episodes is profound, though. Nature is the ultimate equalizer. It genuinely does not matter how much earthly authority, wealth, or political power a person holds. When you step into the wild, nature is always bigger, and the exact same rules of survival apply to everyone. Section 4. The Mindset of a Survivor. Your everyday jungle. Now, most of us watching this explainer aren't jumping out of helicopters or digging snow holes in the Arctic, but we are navigating our own metaphorical wilderness every single day. Your everyday wilderness is very real. It's financial struggles, it's relationship problems, career failures, or maybe just feeling completely stuck with a lack of opportunities. Life itself is a jungle, and it comes complete with its own daily hazards and hidden dangers that threaten to break us. But here is the ultimate takeaway from all the source material we've explored today. The body gives up, not the mind. Physical limitations, external crises, a failed parachute, a freezing night, or a lost job. Those are all secondary obstacles. What truly dictates your survival and your success is an unbroken, resolute mindset. The day you decide you will not be defeated is the day you start winning. So I want to leave you with this provocative question. If Bear Grylls can climb Mount Everest just 18 months after breaking his back in 3 places, why can't we change our own lives? Take a moment to really think about that. Your own survival story starts the very moment you decide to face your everyday jungle with that exact same unbreakable mindset. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.